You're scrolling through a dozen generators, trying to picture yourself in a blackout, wondering if the next thing you spend money on will actually keep the lights on when the grid quits, or just sit in the garage gathering dust. That hesitation is real. No one wants to drop a few $1,000s on a unit that won't run the fridge, the furnace, and the home office the way they need it to. So let's dig into the Champion 12.5 kilowatts home standby generator and see if it lives up to the promise of never worry about the next storm for people in your situation. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest question most homeowners ask is whether a standby generator can actually power everything they rely on, not just a single circuit. With 12,500 watts of continuous output, this Champion model is sized to handle a typical whole house load. Your central air conditioner, electric water heater, refrigerator, a few lights, and even a couple of wall-mounted TVs or a home office setup. In practice, that means you could keep the house comfortable while your neighbor is left in the dark with just a small portable unit. The built-in 100-amp automatic transfer switch, ATS, does the heavy lifting when the utility drops. The ATS senses the loss, starts the engine, and flips the switch to bring the whole house onto generator power within seconds. No manual plugging in, no hunting for the right breaker. For anyone who has ever fumbled with extension cords in a storm, that automation alone removes a huge pain point. Now, the Quietest-in-Class claim isn't just marketing fluff. Champion has added sound dampening material and a specially shaped exhaust housing that brings the noise down to roughly 65 decibels at a 3-meter distance. That's about the same level as a normal conversation, which is a relief if you live in a suburban cul-de-sac where a roaring diesel could get complaints from the next door. I've spoken to a few homeowners who installed similar generators and said the generator runs at a hum that's barely noticeable once the house is back up and running. If you're sensitive to noise, maybe you work from home or have young kids sleeping upstairs, that lower profile is a practical advantage. Reliability is where standby generators truly earn or lose your trust. The Champion's 24-volt starting system is designed to crank in sub-zero temperatures down to -22°C or about -8°F and also cope with scorching summer heat. Think about a Midwest winter when the power lines snap under ice. A generator that refuses to start because the battery is weak is a non-starter. The 24-volt system is essentially a dual battery arrangement that gives you more cranking power than a standard 12-volt starter, reducing the chance of a no-start scenario. For folks in regions with extreme temperature swings, that design choice translates to fewer emergency service calls and more peace of mind. On the downside, the power you get comes with a price tag that isn't negligible. A 12.5 kilowatt standby unit, plus the ATS, typically runs into the high four-figure range once you factor in professional installation, fuel tank, and any necessary electrical upgrades. If you're a renter or own a modest one-bedroom condo, that investment may outweigh the benefits, especially if you can rely on a portable generator for essential circuits only. Also, the unit runs on gasoline or propane, and while the fuel tank is sized for roughly 1,012 hours of continuous operation at 50% load, you'll need to plan for fuel storage and refilling during a prolonged outage. That's a logistical step many first-time buyers overlook until the first storm hits and they realize the tank is empty. Another practical consideration is space. The generator itself is about the size of a large refrigerator and needs a well-ventilated outdoor pad, often a concrete slab, and a clear distance from windows and doors to meet code. If your lot is tight or you live in a community with strict HOA rules, finding a compliant spot can be a hurdle. I've heard from installers that a small miscalculation in placement can lead to additional concrete work or even a permit delay, which adds both time and cost. So, who should seriously consider this Champion standby system? If you own a single-family home in an area that experiences frequent severe weather, have a household that depends on electricity for medical equipment, work from home, or run a small business out of your garage, the ability to keep the entire house powered without manual intervention is a game-changer. The 12.5 kilowatts capacity also gives you headroom for future upgrades, perhaps an electric vehicle charger or a higher-efficiency HVAC system without having to replace the generator later. The 10-year limited warranty and free lifetime technical support are not just nice-to-have. They're a safety net that can reduce long-term maintenance costs, especially if you're not mechanically inclined. Conversely, if you live in a mild climate where outages are rare, or you're comfortable managing a few essential circuits with a portable unit, the standby generator may be overkill. The upfront cost, installation complexity, and fuel logistics become harder to justify when a 5 kilowatts portable can keep